Hey there, friends. Welcome back to the Transform with Angel show. I'm your host, Angel Carlton Anderson, and this is your one-stop shop for all things transformation. So whether you're tuning in from the comfort of your office, maybe you're listening in your car, commuting back home or to work, or maybe you're at work and you're sneaking this in between Zoom calls. Don't worry, I won't tell. Either way, you're in for a treat today. I guarantee there's going to be some insights that I share with you that you might not have thought about. Let's talk leadership. Not the boring, here's how you manage people leadership. No, I'm talking about the next generation of leadership, the kind of leadership that gets people talking, the kind that makes you want to come to work. Yes, it's possible. And the kind that takes your company not from just a conscious corporation, but to a truly transformative organization that moves its employees into the future, personally and professionally. This type of leadership is so wildly essential for the rapidly changing climate that we are currently living in. Now, if you are a forward thinking, progressive leader, you already know that old school, top down, do as I say leadership is a thing of the past. And if you're still clinging to that style, well, I've got some news for you. It's time to level up. Today, I am going to walk you through how to transform your leadership style from conscious to transformative. These two concepts go hand in hand for sure, but where conscious leadership lays the foundation, transformative leadership takes it to the next level and truly takes it into the future. So grab your coffee or whatever you need to stay tuned in and let's dive in. Let's start with what is conscious leadership and why is it a good starting point? We'll start with the basics. Conscious leadership is all about leading with awareness, intention, and empathy. It's about being self-aware, creating a culture where everyone's voice matters, and building strong emotional connections within your team. The style has been the future of leadership for a while now. And if you're here, you're probably already dabbing in it. But here's the thing, there's more. What comes after this? How do we go from conscious leadership to transformative leadership, which is the new leadership paradigm? What is transformative leadership? This is my personal definition. Transformative leadership is an ever-evolving approach to guiding teams through times of change, transformation, and growth, which we are all experiencing right now on a personal level as well as on an organizational level. It's an ongoing process that requires leaders to stay just one step ahead as each individual within the organization navigates their own personal evolution. Few have mastered this art as it calls for continuous self-transformation. Leaders must first observe their own growth, then use those insights to guide their teams. By doing so, stress is minimized and productivity remains intact, even when change catches people off guard. As a transformative leader, you become a role model for adaptability and resiliency, showing vulnerability to build trust and human connection. Only when your team relates to you as a person first can you build the credibility to successfully lead them through transformative times. They want to know you know what they're going through. Well, let's break this down. I'm going to share with you 7 key components to becoming a transformative leader. Number 1, and this is not in any particular order, I'm thinking of conscious leadership versus transformative leadership, old paradigm versus new paradigm. Number 1, having a growth mindset versus becoming a transformative thinker, a true transformational thinker. A growth mindset, which is quickly becoming the old paradigm. This is where leaders encourage their teams to stretch and fail and learn and improve. It's a great start. But we're talking next level thinking here. Transformative thinking is the new paradigm. Leaders with transformative thinking visualize the ideal outcome. They don't just focus on incremental improvements. They literally transform how they see themselves, their team, and the future of the organization as a collective whole. They create a vision so compelling that it pulls everyone forward. It truly propels the project and accelerates the initiative at hand when teams take responsibility for their part of transforming it. It's like running a marathon to flying over or above the 26.2-mile course. Not only does it provide a higher perspective, you see the entire route. You see all the obstacles, and you clearly see the finish line. This is transformative thinking. A couple actionable steps that you can take to move from having a growth mindset into becoming a transformative thinker. Incorporate daily visualization. Make it a daily practice. Literally spend 5 minutes each day envisioning your ideal team, the outcome of a project, yourself as a leader, the greatest potential that could possibly come of it. Imagine it in vivid detail. Be bold and do this in your meetings. Invite the team into a visualization exercise. I mean, how do you think Coach Phil Jackson took the Chicago Bulls to a 6-time championship? Yes, he used the power of visualization. Pretty powerful stuff. And then encourage your team to have that big picture thinking. Invite them to think beyond growth, but think about how this transforms for the next generation. How does this leave a lasting legacy at the organization? Ask your team, what does success look like to you on a grand scale? Challenge them to think beyond the obvious. When you can train your teams to have that big picture thinking, it only makes your job so much easier. You're not the one having to do all the thinking anymore. Now you can tap into the brilliant minds that are also evolving into their highest potential. It's kind of magical how that works. So, number 2, the second component of transformative leadership, I look at collaboration versus connection. While collaboration or inclusion, and great leaders do understand the importance of this, and they build inclusive teams where collaboration is encouraged. Everyone has a voice and everyone is heard. That's very healthy for any environment. But transformative leaders, they go deeper. They create heart level connections. They understand that it's not just about getting people to work together, it's about making them feel seen and valued on a human level. People don't just follow orders, They follow purpose. When they can align with the purpose and connect that with some personal purpose or passion within them, whew, that's when you truly have something transformative going on. And when you connect your team to that deeper purpose, watch out. The energy, the passion, it's like rocket fuel. Some actionable steps you can take to step up from collaboration to connection. Ask heart centered questions instead of asking, "Did you finish that project?" Which prompts either a yes or no answer, nothing further. But when you ask an open ended question, like what, how, who, when, why, now you are inviting them to share a lot more information. Try asking something like, what part of that project are you most proud of? Or how did that task make you feel? You'll be surprised with how much you learn when you just open the question up for them to respond as they share their feelings, their thoughts, their ideas. You're going to learn so much more as a leader. And be sure to create space for deeper conversations. Open up about your why, share your personal mission, and encourage your team to do the same. Make sure they understand how your role aligns with your personal passion. Giving people examples allows them to open up different ideas and use their imagination and gain a better understanding. So, I have a quick story about when I was facilitating an elite leadership development program at a Fortune 25 telecommunications company. It was a week-long leadership course. A seasoned employee walked in the door, threw his stuff down. His body language clearly indicated he did not want to be there. I learned that he was just a few months away from retiring, and yet they forced him to come to this training that he just didn't was not convinced that he needed. He sat there with his arms crossed, rolling his eyes, openly huffing and puffing as I introduced myself and did my best to create a warm welcome for the class. Whew. Wally was outwardly and rudely expressing to me and to everyone in the room, what could she possibly teach me? I knew this behavior had to be stopped and nipped in the bud immediately. Otherwise, it was going to be a long week. So at the first break, I pulled Wally aside. I asked him, "So, how long have you been with the company?" 25 years. Wow, 25 years. Whew. I obviously do not have that kind of experience. I have been facilitating here for only a couple of years now, and I could really use your help. There are a lot of new managers in this class. Would you be willing to share your expertise with them? Like maybe I can call upon you and you'll have a story or an example to share. They may lock in the message or the lesson. And I invite you to contribute to whatever I'm training. And if you feel you have something to share that will add value, oh, I could really use your help. And I would really appreciate that. It will add another dimension for the younger managers, the newer managers. He instantly just stood up straight, changed his tune, and was so appreciative that I honored his years of experience to use him as an asset rather than a disruption. That was a total game changer. He instantly became the most engaged person in the room and provided us all with a wealth of information throughout that week. The best part was when he pulled me aside at the end of the week with tears in his eyes to thank me. He said he had found a new passion for his position, and as a result of this class, he's postponing his retirement. He now knows the value that he has and that he brings to this company and to the younger managers and wants to share it. I was the one with tears in my eyes after hearing that one. We all want an authentic connection. We all want to feel respected. We all want to be seen. We all want to be heard and valued. When we set our egos aside and realize there's more power and it's more rewarding in the long run. When we work in collaboration, the outcome of the story has nothing to do with my position as a facilitator. It was when I connected with him on a human level and asked him to partner with me as a valued member of the team. Did he gain respect for me? Number 3, authenticity versus vulnerability. Did I have to put my guard down in that situation? Be vulnerable and have a little humility? Absolutely. But how powerful was it in the long run? Because it's not about you as a leader. It's always about your team. Always. So let's look at authenticity. The old school version of leadership, authenticity it's about being real, being consistent, and practicing what you preach, right? It's important for sure. But transformative leadership is about leading with vulnerability. This means openly sharing your challenges, admitting when you don't know something, and showing your team that it's okay to be human and express emotions. Transformation is an emotionally turbulent time. If we can't express our emotions, then that's only going to cause disruption later on. Vulnerability fosters trust at a deep, deep level. And trust me, pun intended, people work harder when they trust their leader. So, some actionable steps to be more vulnerable with your team: lead with imperfection. Yeah, do it on purpose so that your team can step up. At your next meeting, instead of presenting like you've got it all figured out, say, I'm not sure where this is going to take us, but I'm excited to figure it out together. I want to be a part of that team. Whenever it's appropriate, share a challenge that you've faced and what you've learned from it. Vulnerability is magnetic. It creates a space where it gives that other person permission to be themselves and be vulnerable and share. Super powerful. Number 4, self-awareness versus conscious presence. Now, I am a huge advocate of self-awareness. This is an ongoing practice. This is something we all, as humans, need to adopt into our personalities, our daily life. It is the practice of understanding your emotions, understanding your behaviors, and how they affect those around you. It's the most powerful thing we can do, is become self-aware. Conscious presence, however, is a little bit different. Transformative leaders, they don't just understand their emotions, they are fully present in every interaction. They listen not just with their ears, but with their entire being. They make people feel like the most important person in the room. Ever had a conversation with someone where you felt like they were mentally somewhere else? Yeah, don't be that leader. Some actionable steps to be consciously present. Ask for feedback. Regularly seek input from your team about your leadership style. And don't just ask, how am I doing as a leader? Try asking, what's the one thing I could do to improve on how to support you better? I mean, go home and think about it. I don't want you to just come up with any answer right now. I truly want to know how I can support you better. Yeah, send me an email by 5 o'clock tomorrow. That'd be great. And a quick tip, whenever you are giving feedback, while we are on the topic of feedback, be sure to provide a compliment for every constructive criticism you're giving. Perhaps saying something like, you may want to consider this next time. Or have you ever considered this, this, or this? What would work best for you? And then end the conversation with, hey, by the way, your creativity and your attention to detail in that last project was spot on. Thank you for going the extra mile on that. I want to work for that leader. Another thing you can do is have something called a mindful meeting. Before every meeting, make sure you take a deep breath. Set an intention to be 100% present with your team. If someone wants to complain, make it a rule to have at least one solution to accompany it so that it doesn't impact the energy in the room. Everybody must be mindful during their meetings. You might even want to have a little box outside the door to drop their egos in so that everybody comes in their authentic, vulnerable self. And here's another thing. Your behavior tells the story. So when a team member comes into your office to have a conversation or share a concern about something, maybe it's a personal issue they're having at home that's impacting their work life. Number one, remove the obstacles, the physical obstacles. Get away from behind your desk, pull up a chair next to them, and have a face-to-face conversation, open conversation. Also, let them see you silence your phone so that you don't get distracted with interruptions, knowing that this time you're spending with them is important and valuable. Honor them. Number 5, empathy versus compassionate leadership. Empathy is an understanding of feelings of others. Leaders who practice empathy create supportive environments where people feel heard. Again, empathy is a superpower. Compassionate leadership takes empathy a step further. It's empathy in action. It's not about understanding someone's struggles. It's about actively supporting them through it. This could be offering help, creating flexibility, or simply being there in times of need. It's about lifting others up by letting them know you care, not just understanding them. Some actionable steps. Offer help, not just understanding. If you sense somebody on your team is struggling, don't just say, I get it. Yeah, I get it. No, say, how can I support you? What's the best thing I can do to support you right now? Make it easier on them. Number 2, lead with care. Let your team know that their well-being is just as important to you as it is to them. And it's just as important as their performance. We put so much emphasis on performance and productivity and analytics. We are forgetting about the human part of each employee. They're a human being, not just a human doing. And why we are on this topic, for any parent who might be listening to this or watching this works for parenting too. I believe that parenting is the greatest form of leadership there is. After all, we're raising the next generation. That's a gigantic role for each of us to fulfill. Another quick story. My son was entering the teenage years. I was cooking dinner. He was in the other room. I'm like, hey, Nick, can you take out the garbage real quick? He's like, yeah, sure. Time went on, time went on. I just emptied the trash myself. I'm like, forget it. Whatever he's doing, I'll just do it. He came out. He had such an attitude. I'm like, what's up? Nothing. In that sarcastic tone. Everything we talked about over dinner was just not good. I was like, what in the world is bothering this kid? This behavior can't go on. I will not put up with this. I did a quick self-check to make sure I didn't do anything to upset him that day. And I'm like, no, I'm not taking this on. So after dinner, I'm like, hey, buddy, you want to go get some ice cream? Now it's dead in the middle of winter in Chicago. And he's like, ice cream, Mom? It's 20 below zero outside. I'm like, yeah, why not? Let's go. So I warm up the car. We hop in. I go to the furthest ice cream place I could think of across town. So we have some time to chat. And I use some of my own leadership skills. I said, hey, buddy, you're my one and only, right? So I've never had any experience before on parenting a teenager. This is my first time, my first run at it. How am I doing? He was baffled. He's like, what? What do you mean? I said, what's working? What can I improve on? What do you like? What do you want me to keep doing? How can I be a better mom to you as a teenager? Because I knew asking some open-ended questions would get him to open up on what's bothering him. And bingo, boom. After he sat quietly for several minutes, he finally responded. It's like, Mom, it bothers me when you ask me to do something like take out the garbage and then you do it yourself. He said, I was going to do it. He said, but, I was right in the middle of a game and gaming is his downtime. I get it. I said, I understand. But I was cooking dinner and it was overflowing and it really kind of needed to be emptied at that time. I guess I could have expressed myself a little bit better and communicated the urgency of that. And I can be more mindful of what you're currently involved in, and you can possibly communicate a little bit better. Would it help if I say, Nick, when is a good time for you to take the trash out? It's starting to overflow. And you can answer with 10 more minutes, 30 minutes, whatever the case may be. Does that sound good? Yes. I'm like, okay, great. I'm glad we worked through that. And then the most beautiful thing happened. I'm going to start crying just thinking about it. He proceeded to share the long list of things he loves about me being his mom. He said, you give me freedom. You let me make my own choices. You give me second chances. All my friends think I have the coolest mom. He goes, really, Mom? I wouldn't change anything. I'm crying. This is what every parent wants to hear, right? But asking feedback from your kid, oh, try it sometime. I highly encourage it. Because when I had that sarcastic tone in my voice with my mom, the little fiery Italian woman that she was, I was met with a slap across the face. But I didn't want to continue that paradigm. I wanted to change the paradigm because we are teaching them how to be a parent also. And I didn't want to parent with violence, and I certainly didn't want him to parent with violence. So, which paradigm are you transferring to your children? And which paradigm are you transferring to your teams at work? Number 6, motivation versus inspiration. Motivation. Okay, what motivates you? Those are really good questions to ask. Leaders in the old paradigm focused on motivating their teams through external rewards, whether it's bonuses, recognition, or fear of consequences. Motivation is often driven by short-term goals, deadlines, incentives, and it still works. I don't think that'll ever go away because there's a little something called dopamine that we are constantly wanting that reward. And it's just the way our brains operate. I'll get into some more neuroscience in a later podcast, but motivation isn't going away anytime soon. But if you want to really level up that motivation, transformative leaders inspire from within. They don't just push their teams to act, they ignite a deep sense of purpose and passion. Easier said than done. Inspired teams aren't just working for a paycheck. They're driven by shared values and a shared vision. Inspiration taps into intrinsic motivation, making the work more meaningful, more sustainable, and impactful. Some actionable steps to become more inspirational: communicate vision and purpose. Make sure your team understands the why behind their work. Align their personal values with the company's mission. Pull out the company's mission and ask them, which one do you align with? You're here for a reason. You interviewed for this job for a reason. Why? What is it? And then recognize purposeful contributions. Instead of just rewarding output, celebrate the contributions that move the needle in ways that align with your vision and your purpose. That's worth celebrating. It's worth the time to seek to understand the passion behind the person. Then just find ways to align that passion with their role, or have them self-discover it and bring that to you. It's knowing what makes them jump out of the bed in the morning and then nurturing that spark in the workplace. It kind of makes me think of a story that one of the managers for that same company I was talking about was sharing. He said one of his top performing technicians was always the first one in the garage in the morning. He could always count on him. Positive attitude, always upbeat, always wanting to help. He said, but then something as of late, he was coming in with seconds left, if not maybe a couple minutes after the time he was supposed to be there. His productivity was going down, and he knew he had to finally say something. So the manager pulled Jim aside and said, hey, Jim, what's going on? How's everything going? He's like, oh, everything's great. He's like, well, I just kind of noticed. He goes, usually you're the first in the garage, and spoke to the behavior that he noticed. He said, and now you seem to be coming in, barely on time. And that's just not like you. He's like, oh, yeah, well, I play the guitar, and I'm in this band, and we got a gig playing at the local bar. but it's the last set of the night, so it's kind of late. And we play three nights a week, and I just haven't quite adapted to that schedule. Now, that manager had a choice. He could have reprimanded him, could have written him up, could have said, it better stop or else. He could have done a lot of things. But here's what he did. He said, "What? Jim, you never told me you played the guitar. How long have you been playing?" "Oh, I've been playing since I was like 10 years old. My dad bought me this guitar, and I have been playing like every day ever since." And the manager just sat there and observed and watched him light up as he was talking about playing the guitar. "Yeah, so where's this gig? Where do you play?" Jim told him the bar and the time. So, fast forward to Thursday nights when Jim was playing. The manager is at home, tucks his children into bed, kisses his wife goodnight, and where do you think he went? Mm-hmm. Yep, to the local bar to see his top tech in action. He walks into the bar, grabs a beer, saw Jim on stage just jamming out on his guitar and totally rocking it in his passion zone. The tech looked up, noticed his manager in the back of the room, gave him a little head nod, continued jamming. The next morning, first one in the garage, only to tell his manager how much it meant to him for being there and coming to see him play. Whew, this story just gives me chills. This is the power in understanding the person, the passion behind the person, and the person behind the employee, and really knowing what lights each person up. It's the difference from shifting from the short-term transactional leadership motivation to long-term values-driven leadership, which is inspiration. And finally, number 7, emotional intelligence versus energy management. Might be a new term for some of you. Leaders with emotional intelligence are skilled at recognizing and managing their own emotions and those of others. This is such an important component of any leadership. They understand how feelings impact performance and relationships, using this awareness to create a supportive environment. No question. Super, super powerful. Energy management takes it one step further. Transformative leaders go beyond emotional intelligence. They master energy management. They don't just identify emotions, they read the room and feel the collective energy. They understand that every meeting, every conversation or decision carries a unique energy. It's going to have a reaction, an outcome. And when the vibe is off, they know how to shift it from negative to positive. It's not just about managing emotions. It's about altering the energy to uplift the entire team, turning tension into flow, turning chaos into calm. Ways to do that? Read the room. At the start of every meeting or conversation, take a moment to assess the energy in the room. Is it tense? Is it low energy? Is it positive? Are people laughing, smiling, talking, joking, having conversations? Or are they just all sitting there on their phones, moping, not wanting to be there? Then do an energy reset. If the energy feels negative or stagnant, address it head on. This could be through humor, acknowledging the mood, or taking a break to reset, or maybe just open communication, some vulnerability. And then positive energy anchors. Be intentional about bringing in positive energy, whether it's through words of encouragement, a positive vision, or just showing up with contagious enthusiasm. You've got to switch. You got to switch on when you're a leader. You manage the energy. You are the vibe that they must match. This is the evolution from simply understanding emotions to mastering the flow of energy within your teams. This makes you a true architect of your environment. So, my final thoughts on the future of leadership. The future of leadership is transformative. The world is changing, and leadership needs to change with it. Conscious leadership has laid the groundwork, truly, but the future is transformative leadership. It's about creating bold visions, fostering deep connections, and leading with vulnerability and presence. It's about transforming not just yourself, but everyone you lead. Growth feels good. Leaders, the time is now. Your team doesn't need another manager. We certainly don't need a micromanager. They need a visionary, a connector, and a compassionate guide. The old way of leading won't cut it in this new world. So let's be the leaders who transform ourselves, our teams, and our organization. The culture of an organization is only as evolved as its people. And it's time to become aware of the evolution happening within each employee so that it impacts a culture of transformation. And what I like to do at the end of every episode is a powerful affirmation. I say, as a leader, incorporate this into your mindful meetings. But for now, for you, repeat after me and say these words with conviction. I lead with vision, heart, and presence. I am the catalyst for transformation, inspiring my team to rise to their fullest potential. Together, we create a future of possibility, purpose, and profound success. Excellent. If you are ready to take your leadership from conscious to transformative, want to learn how to lead with a vision, connection, and compassion, I've got the tools and the framework to get you there. Visit transformwithangel.com for leadership courses, workshops, keynote topics that will truly transform your organization. Let's go ahead and set up a chat, shall we? And together we'll create a leadership dynamic that shifts the entire culture of your organization so that we can all thrive in this next generation. Thanks for tuning in to the Transform with Angel show, where transformation starts with you. Until next time, just be your best self. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Hey there, if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel, like this video, share this video, make a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are about transformative leadership. And again, visit transformwithangel.com because there's a free gift waiting for you. You can download your copy of How to Conquer Anything. You want to know how to get through change and transformation? I've got you covered. Thanks again for tuning in. I'll see you next time on the Transform with Angel show.